It has been a while since they've had this much to do, but snowplow drivers, they're back at it. They spent much of the night and early morning clearing parking lots and city streets after that snowfall, and that's so you can get on your way safely this morning. And if you're heading out to shovel your driveway or sidewalk, be warned, this time it is kind of that wet, heavy stuff.
And besides the snow, it's slippery out there, so you might want to allow a little extra time to get to where you're going this morning. The Valley Today's Brian Sherrod has been out scouting the roads to find the rough spots for us. Good morning, Brian.
And good morning, Jordan and Lisa. What I can tell you right now, still being on Center Avenue, is that the roadways are still rough as you drive up and down them. Earlier, about 20 minutes ago, we were in Dilworth, and now we are in Moorhead, still on Center Avenue by the Wells Fargo. Now, what we can tell you throughout the morning was there was 2 accidents. One was in Moorhead around 347 on a ramp, the other on I-94 near mile marker 15. Now, I-94 and I-29 was a little rough as I traveled throughout them this morning, so you want to make sure you're being extra careful on those roads because, again, they were pretty rough. When I was on them, they were slipperier than normal. To give you some tips, make sure you are giving yourself extra travel time. Increase stopping distance between vehicles, keep at least 5 car lengths from snowplows, and if you skid, make sure you remain calm. Ease foot off gas, then turn steering wheel in the direction that you want to go, and don't use your cruise control as well. So as we've been mentioning all morning long, there are many main roadways just like Center Avenue that has not been plowed yet, or it has been plowed but not enough for you to feel that you're able to be careful on the road by speeding. Make sure you are taking your time going to either school or going to work. Just make sure you have that extra time for that commute.
Also, make sure you're clearing off your vehicle. Brian, I know behind you we saw one just drive by that had a bunch of snow still on the windshield and the roof. You can get pulled over and cited if you don't clear off your vehicle properly, so make sure you're doing that before you hit the road this morning too.
Good reminder. Brian Sherrod reporting live for us this morning. Thank you. Police have been busy chasing down car crash reports in the FM Metro as well because of all that snow that started last night. A section of I-29 just under the 32nd Avenue overpass was blocked last night for an accident for about an hour. There's no word yet on any injuries.
And one person was thrown from a vehicle during a 3-car crash at the intersection of Cheyenne and 32nd Avenue South in West Fargo. Officials tell us the person is in stable condition, and police say that crash last night was caused by someone going too fast on these slippery roads.
So let's get a check now of our First Alert Storm Team forecast, and we know part of the problem is that temperatures have dropped, so you will notice as well it's cooler out there this morning.
Yeah, not fun to be out cleaning up, and some of the places where we had wet snow is now frozen over and icy and compacted snow on those roadways as well. So here's a look at a recent DOT cam. I've been keeping an eye on those in Minnesota where plows have been out trying to treat the roads and clear them off as well. And this is in the Erskine area along Highway 2, just east of town, or it looks like actually in town on this view. And you can just see the road surface has some snow on it, and this is in town again and on a major highway. So we're talking about issues even on some of those busier roads, let alone some of those side streets and your neighborhoods that you may be driving through. So here's a look at some of the road conditions throughout the valley. You could see in Minnesota, we've got blue and magenta colors on some of our highways there, and that indicates either some completely covered or some partially covered roads with snow, compacted snow or ice in those spots. And then over into North Dakota, a sea of yellow here in eastern parts of the state especially. That means we have ice or compacted snow covering those highways, or at least part of the highways there too, including interstates, including Highway 2 and a lot of our roads once again in eastern North Dakota. So just to reiterate what Brian was saying, it's slippery. It's slippery for just about everybody. So lots of time needed here today. And you might want to warm up that car a little bit more too, because temperatures are a little chillier than the recent mornings we've had. And you want that vehicle to be nice and toasty when you get in. We're looking at temperatures in the single digits in spots. Grand Forks is at 9. Devil's Lake is at 9. Fargo's at 13, getting ready for that sunrise. We've cleared out. We've got beautiful sunrise as we look off to the east. And it's 10 in Thief River Falls, Bemidji at 14 degrees right now. Some places seeing a little bit of cloud cover, especially in the east and in the west. Wind chills Factor that in, we have some wind chills that are below 0. It feels like 1 below in Fargo and 3 below in Grand Forks. So I mentioned the clearing, a lot of us seeing clear skies. Those clouds are departing to the east and out to the west, a few more clouds in that direction. And we may see more clouds build in as we head through the day, and the potential for a passing flake or flurry, or maybe even a light snow shower, especially in the northern valley. Should be very isolated, but still something to be aware of as we're looking ahead for today. Out at the bus stop this morning, it's quiet, it's clear, it's just slick. So the kids will want to watch out for those icy sidewalks. And then heading home, getting close to freezing, but maybe not quite reaching there. We're looking at about high of about 30, and again, some increasing clouds. The afternoons for the next couple of days will eventually start climbing above that freezing mark, both Thursday and into Friday. So we'll work on melting some of those patchy areas of ice and snow, but it'll cool down for the weekend.
All right, thank you, Lisa. We have new information this morning on golf legend Tiger Woods. His agent now says Woods is recovering from surgery on his lower right leg and ankle after crashing his car in Los Angeles. Investigators say his SUV veered off a steep road and rolled several times.
You can see it right there. Doctors then inserted a rod into Woods' shin bone and stabilized his foot and ankle with screws and pins. First responders at the scene say he is lucky to be alive. The passenger compartment, it was pretty well preserved because of the crumple zones. That's along with the airbags, and they say Woods was wearing his seatbelt at the time. The Minnesota Court of Appeals has agreed to consider a prosecutor's request to reinstate a third-degree murder charge against fired Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who was charged in George Floyd's death. A judge last year dismissed that charge, saying that prosecutors would have to show that Chauvin's intentional conduct was eminently dangerous to others and not just Floyd.
Right now, Chauvin is facing charges of second-degree murder and manslaughter. His trial starts March 8th. We're getting a look this morning at some new video from inside a downtown Fargo bar that was taken just shortly before a triple shooting outside. This is from inside the Bismarck Tavern Saturday night. You can see a group of people fighting with someone in the middle of the circle. That person turns out to be Brandon Grant, the man police are still looking for.
Bartenders tell Valley News Live that they heard about 10 gunshots after this video was shot, and then they discovered 3 people had been hit. Police are aware of the video. They're also asking anyone with other photos or videos from that night to come forward right away. Meanwhile, police are still searching for 43-year-old Brandon Grant in connection with that shooting. They say he is armed and dangerous. You should not approach him if you see him.
Instead, call 911 right away. You can also text a tip to Fargo PD at 847-411. An attempted murder suspect is behind bars after being on the run since January. 21-year-old Oliver Ty was considered armed and dangerous after a shooting January 24th at the Arbors apartment complex in South Fargo. He
was wanted for attempted murder, reckless endangerment, and aggravated assault. Ty was arrested Monday night in Fargo.
The North Dakota House has passed a bill that adds another 3 cents per gallon to the state's gas tax to help pay for improvements to roads and bridges.
If the Senate approves, the plan would generate about $44 million in additional revenue over a 2-year budget cycle. The proposal also raises the annual fee on electric vehicles from $120 to $200, on hybrid vehicles from $50 to $100, and on electric motorcycles from $20 to $50.
In another round of votes about weapons and states of emergency, the North Dakota House passed a bill that changes ownership during a state of emergency. They approved a bill banning restrictions to the sale, registration, and/or ownership of dangerous weapons during a declared emergency. State law already has legislation like this for firearms and ammunition. Last week, the House turned down a bill that would have expanded the number of public places where dangerous weapons could be carried. North
Dakota is also one step closer to legalizing marijuana for recreational use. The State House of Representatives passed a bill yesterday that paves the way, but with significant restrictions. Lawmakers introduced the bill to get ahead of the legalization effort, which they say is inevitable. The House also passed a decriminalization bill, increasing the legal amount a person can possess without facing a legal penalty.
Let's get our answer now to our question of the morning on Facebook. Today's question, 88% of us admit we do this in the middle of the night.
The answer is check our phones, and we probably sleep with them. That's where we're at.
I was going to say check the
2021.
time and check the notifications that are keeping you up.
You can play along every day. But remember, the Today Show in CBS This Morning just about to start, but the Valley Today rolls on. We have more live up-to-the-minute news and weather continuing with that team coverage of the winter weather that moved through last night. That's coming up on the Fargo CW.